I now reconvene to the regular meeting of the Board of Education at 7 o'clock with Blair, Cruz, Na, Orozco, and Fikes present. Before we begin, please silence all electronic devices and note that these proceedings are being recorded. Pat?
The board met in closed session from 3:45 to 6:31 regarding conference with legal counsel existing and anticipated litigation, conference with labor negotiators ACT and CSEA, public employee discipline dismissal release, public employee appointment coordinator information services and coordinator behavior intervention, and conference with labor negotiators. Designated agency representatives Sylvia Roscoe and James Na, unrepresented employee, new superintendent Dr. Norm Enfield. The Board of Education voted to appoint Lori Anderson as Coordinator Information Services effective January 29th, 2018 by unanimous vote of 5-0, with Cruz, Fikes, Blair, Na, and Orozco voting yes, and voted to accept the resignation agreement and general release between the district and certificated employee number 7848 effective June 30th, 2018 by a unanimous vote of 5-0, with Cruz, Fikes, Blair, Na, and Orozco voting yes. No further action was taken that requires public disclosure.
Thank you. Leading the Pledge of Allegiance tonight is Ryan Anguiano, a sixth grade student from Borba Elementary School.
Good evening. Ready, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Should we say that? We're now at the Student Showcase with the Borba Elementary School sixth grade advanced band. They are accompanied by music teacher Doug Jones. Mr. Jones.
My name is Doug Jones, and this is the students from Borba Elementary School and some friends. And so I teach at both Borba and Briggs, so I brought some Briggs friends. And then I saw one of my professional trumpet player friends who used to play with me at Disneyland. And I said, Kyle, you gotta play. So we got a special professional musician from Disneyland, Kyle Mendoza's playing with us. Hey, Kyle, do you help out at the high school?
I used to at Ayala.
Ayala. So we're all family here. The sixth grade band students get music twice a week. They started in fifth grade, and then this is their second year. And so they've only been playing, this is their second year, and twice a week. And so I picked a Spanish folk song called De Colores. And so I brought the words. Oh, and the words are up on the board. And you could sing along. De Colores. And so I like spring, and we got 60 more days. And then we get spring, March 20th. Okay, here we go.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Jones, could we have just the kids come back and just stand in front of the dais and, so that the parents can take pictures?
I'm gonna run to the bathroom then.
Hey, parents, we're giving you an opportunity to take pictures. Yeah, the students back in. Sorry, normally I catch them before they leave.
Where's Mrs. Fikes again? We keep losing her today.
Give your parents a chance to take a picture. I know, you guys are rolling your eyes, I see it.
They said kids, no teachers.
Hey, parents, come on up.
It's funny.
You don't have to stay in your seats, come on up.
Get out of your seat, move wherever you need.
Oh, I understand. Picture time.
Oh, look at the little tiny one in the back. Oh, yeah. Stick it up to the front.
Yeah, go in front, so your mom can see you. Go in front. Okay, there's another. We need to move in the front.
Thank you all very much.
That one.
Everybody get their, everybody get their picture? All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, friends and family, you're welcome to leave once the students leave if you'd like to. This is the time if you choose to leave.
Thank you, parents, for being here and supporting your students. Students, you did great.
Should I start? Should I wait? Wait. And Mr. Na has to come back.
Mr. Na? Mr. Na, we need you back up here.
It is always delightful when we have students and teachers visit us from the sites to give us an opportunity to see their talents. Tonight, Chef Kevin Brown from Boys Republic is here with some of his students to share a little bit about the work he does with the boys there. Mr. Hampton and Chef Brown, could you please share with us the skills that the boys are learning? Give them a chance to, everybody to get in. Do I have to read it again?
No. Mr. Hampton?
We've introduced you.
Said he's trying to jump in.
Hi, good evening, President Fikes, School Board, Mr. Joseph, and Cabinet. I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm really here on a command performance because a couple of you up there said, where's your baker and where's your baked goods? So he was really sick at Christmas time, and so I want you to know that he lives up at Boys Republic now. He has one son that is at Canyon Hills Junior High and one son that is at Ayala. So he's not only works here and lives here, works here, but he's a parent here also. Kevin Brown started advising almost 4 years ago when they were going to start the bakery, and I've said enough. So Kevin, Kevin Brown, our head baker.
Yes.
How's everyone? President, board members, this is very new to me, being in president of you guys. Thank you for having me here. Like he said, I've been here approximately 4 years now, and it's been quite a journey living out here in Chino. My kids, my wife is very happy to be living here, so I'm grateful for that. You know, happy home. I can really focus on work. So as far as with the kids at the school, it's been real great working with these guys. I'm really trying to teach them some direction so they can take forward going forward. Because some of these guys that come in, they have kind of no idea on what type of structure they want to create within their lives. And it's always good to get kids' attention when you're playing with sugar. So I got their attention very, very much so. To the point we have a farmer's market every Wednesday now at the shops. We take the guys out. Just so much, not just baking, but I try to teach them people skills on learning how to carry themselves and to present their product that they made in the class. And just for them to see the expression that the community gets from their hard work is very fulfilling and very prideful in a sense, because they take great pride in what they do. And in a sense, now we got 26 grocery stores we send product to Vons. I just got a contract now with San Manuel where they want to buy some cinnamon rolls from these guys. So it's a lot of, my whole concept is creating resources, because with resources brings help and also creates that spider web, I call it, with the kids. Because in a sense, when they leave there, my biggest concern is to make sure that they have structure when they leave. Because while they're there, you know, they're just going through the motions and they don't quite know what direction yet they want to go. So I make sure, in a sense, now we have an apprenticeship program started to some kids that don't want to go back to their neighborhoods. And instead of them going to work at Burger King or McDonald's, I will hire them on as a staff as an apprenticeship at the bakery. So it kind of creates a work ethic structure where they have to maintain a job just like me, you, everyone else. And it's been a little challenging in a sense, because they get a little wake-up call on from being in the program, then out the program, and now they're working for the kids now and providing food and meal every day for these guys. So it's a great adventure for me. Keeps me on my toes, I tell you that. But also exciting at the same time, because, you know, it's very blessing to see these guys grow into men and become structured and great towards society, and see some type of structure out of these guys, man. So for me, I thank you guys for having me. I'm not trying to keep your time, and I did brought some goodies here. These are some of the cheesecakes we do send to Vons.
Those
We
are
got a little
yummy.
bit of raspberry in New York. I got 13 packages, what he told me to, making sure it's 13. And please enjoy, and if there's any complaints, let me know. I'll talk to the boys about it. And thanks for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Mrs. Blair.
So I was one of the ones that was bothering Mr. Hampton, and then he shared that you were ill. It's only because last year I took the baked goods to my staff for Christmas, and they expected that same box this year. And so I was like, oh, let me get some, and then there weren't any. So, and the Mimi's muffins did not compare to the Boys Republic, but, you know, it was the best I could do. So I hope you're feeling better, and just know you were missed by LA County employees. How about that?
Well, the whole concept is scratch. I believe in scratch baking because it's something that craft has been lost. And, you know, you go in stores now, everything is frozen and store-bought. So for these guys to create their own product from making just flour and sugar, you really see their personality and their creativity more than anything, what I try to bring out. And then that's the result of it. You know, I love for them to hear you say that, because that's the pride I look for and the passion that they build when they hear those kind of comments, and they know why I push them so hard sometimes and put a little pressure on them a little bit. And it's simple, because they think just making a cookie is, they want to eat it, but when they got to make it, it's a little bit different now. So they respect it more now, in a sense. So, but definitely, thank you guys for having me. And anytime you need goodies, just let me know.
There are more lights.
Okay.
Mr. Na.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Brown. Yeah, I've been to your kitchen several times, and yeah, it's been already 4 years. But I would say you're the blessing to our school district, because you have given these kids their self-worthiness. Yes. When boys are in trouble, we say you need to make them busy, and that's what you have done.
Yes.
You have done in a manner where, with lots of freedom too. You talk about basketball and the things that they can't really account with. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, you give them work ethics.
Yes.
and responsibilities. And they have matured so much under your leadership. So I'd like to really thank you and appreciate you
Thank you.
for what you have done. It's not just giving them an opportunity to become a cook or open up their career, but you're giving them a vision that they could buy their own car, they could pay their own rent, and then they could become a father one day and raise their youngs.
Yes.
So you're basically opening up their future for them in this kitchen in Chino Hills. So thank you so much for your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also wanted to add, I was happy when you said what you said about the boys working at the shops.
Yes.
I often stop but don't always buy. That's more a comment about my, what I need and what I shouldn't have. But I always talk to the boys, and I'm so impressed by the way they behave with the community members. They are respectful, helpful, knowledgeable, and nobody has kind of hung back.
Right.
And I know that's hard for those kids. So it's a huge piece of what you're doing, in addition to the baking skills as well as the work ethic. And
Yeah.
but to be out in the public, representing themselves, representing the school,
Yes.
representing you, to give them that opportunity is huge. And I'm grateful to you,
Thank you.
Mr. Joseph.
Mr. Brown, we commend you on your efforts. Mr. Hampton has spoken about you a lot, and only in laudatory words.
Okay.
I just have one suggestion for you, sir. I think you should have your principal go in the kitchen, have him make something from scratch, and have him eat it.
Oh, that
Okay? All right?
was not a problem.
Okay. Thank you,
I can
Mr.
have him make the cookies he always come get for me.
Thank you so much for
Oh,
coming.
thank you, thank you, thank you, guys.
Would you like us to give them out, or would you like to get them at the end?
At the end of
At the end.
All right, they're right there.
Oh, I'm looking forward to them, though, cheesecakes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, there's one last word
Now I
from-
have a comment from Mr. Hampton. Yeah, I'd just like to thank you and appreciate you, your top leadership. I think the leadership trickle down from the top. And you have done such a great job at Boys Republic and also at adult school. I've been to classrooms at adult schools and Boys Republic, and they just praise you, all the staff members. So thank you for bringing different type of leadership at these two locations and bringing out this greatness in our teachers and our students. Thank you.
Thank you. I work with great people, and I love it. And I'll make something that Mr. Joseph and I can share and eat.
Excuse me, Mrs. Blair, you didn't buzz in again?
No.
I think you might have different buzzers, because that showed that Mrs. Blair was buzzing me and not Mr. Na. So could you give me a buzz?
This is internal now.
That's saying Mr. Na. And your buzz me now? And that says Mrs. Blair. So that's why, okay. Can you switch?
No?
No? We'll switch the names later. Okay, thank you very much. We're now at the last presentation. Dr. Park, would you please introduce the final presentation?
All right. Okay, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Joseph, Cabinet, and community. We have our second part to our annual update on the Local Control and Accountability Plan. Specifically, we'll be reviewing our progress on the College and Career Indicator. The College and Career Indicator is a state metric to measure performance in 3 of the 8 state priorities for our high school students. Priority 7, which is course access, Priority 4, student achievement, and Priority 8, other student outcomes. Our presentation this evening will be divided into 2 parts. I will be reviewing the state report, which the state calculated using the graduation cohort data for 2016, and Dr. Rodriguez will be reviewing our college and career indicator using our most recent data. The data that will be presented tonight will provide us a good baseline, and please expect to see lower percentages in our progress on the college and career indicator. And that's because during the class of 2016, the college and career indicator was not operational. So let's take a look at our state summary. The college and career indicator uses both college and career metrics to evaluate not only the district's performance, but the school's performance on how we're preparing our students for high school and beyond. We have 4 levels of preparedness, but the state has currently only defined 3 levels, and they are prepared, approaching prepared, and not prepared. And so when we take a look at the graduating cohort of 2016, 50% of our students demonstrated prepared for college and career, with 26.3% of our students at approaching prepared and 23% of our students not prepared. There are 5 ways a student can demonstrate preparedness. In all 5 options, a student must graduate and meet another set of criteria. In option 1, 32.4% of our graduating cohort class of 2016 completed a CTE pathway. That is, they completed a sequence of 2 to 4 classes that specialized in a career industry sector and met one of the following. They achieved a level 3, which is standard met on English language arts or math, and standard nearly met, which is level 2 on the other subject area. Or they completed 1 semester or 2 quarters of dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is defined as a class that a high school student is taking and earning not only high school credit, but also earning college credit. 55.3% of our students met option 2, demonstrating college and career readiness by scoring minimally a level 3, which is standard met, in both English language arts and math on the SBAC. In option 3, we didn't have any of our students complete 2 semesters or 3 quarters of dual enrollment with a grade of C- or better. However, I do want to again remind you that the college and career indicator was not operational during this time. In option 4, 38.6% of our students earned a score of 3 on a scale of 5 on 2 of the advanced placement exams. Because we don't have an IB program, the 38.6% only reflects our students taking the AP exam. Most of our students met preparedness through option 5, which reflects 82.1% of our students who met the A through G criteria to be eligible to attend a UC or CSU school. Each letter in A through G represents a content area and the recommended number of years for completion. So for example, A in A through G represents the 2 years that need to be taken in history and social science in high school. The B represents the 4 years of English. And so you can see that our students not only met the A through G criteria, but they also met one of the following. They completed a CTE pathway with a C- or higher. They met the minimal SBAC results, or they completed 1 semester or 2 quarters of dual enrollment, or they earned a score of 3 on at least 1 AP exam. That completes the state report. Dr. Rodriguez, our Director of Secondary Curriculum and Instruction, will now be providing you our progress using our most recent data.
Happy New Year.
Hello there.
So I'm going to delve into the numbers just a little bit more. Okay, we have cohort graduation rate, and then what was just introduced, the A through G completion rate, which you're going to be hearing a lot more about that as we really do focus on K-12 awareness of what A through G means and why it's so important and starting very early. But cohort graduation data really, to understand what it is, it's the percentage of students who began as 9th graders together and then finished together 4 years later. So as you can see, 93.4% in the class of 2016. That means that they were 9th graders in the year 2012-13. Okay? So they started here together, and then they finished 4 years later. Then we have a nice increase, obviously, in 2017 here with the 95.5%. And as we work to make sure that all of us are on the same page in how we track that and where those kids are and where they're going, a lot of different ways that will increase. As far as A through G completion with the C or better, we know that those A through G classes, as Dr. Park just pointed out, represent the minimum requirements for the University of California to consider you eligible. Okay? It's not the only way, but it's the metric that the state is using. The other ways that you can do it are qualifying scores on an SAT or an ACT exam, which you know we provide to our students, as well as qualifying exams on advanced placement. Okay? You know, we're increasing participation in that. But A through G is the minimum requirement. So we definitely have an increase there between 2016 and 2017. And as we work to provide more options within, say, A, within B, C, D, as we work to provide more options, you're going to see an increase in those numbers. Again, advanced placement, one of our initiatives, because as Dr. Park pointed out, it's one of the 5 ways, in addition to a high school diploma, that we get kids to reach that prepared state. So as you can see, we have a nice increase in not only the students who are taking the exam, but the students that are scoring with a 3 or more. 3 being a qualifying score. That's the minimum for a college to say, okay, tell you what, that qualifies as a first-year college, a college course for this particular content area. So in 2016, a quarter of our students. Now let's put that in perspective. On a high school campus, typically 10th through 12th grade is when you take it. These are really good numbers. I want to put these in perspective. 26.21 and then 27.5. That's a quarter of our students on average over a high school campus that are involved in at least one AP course. That's an entire class of students. Okay, so that's just to put that in perspective, that's a good number. Now, of those kids, of that entire class of students, if you will, 66.51% in 2016, and then upwards of 70% are getting a score of 3 or higher on at least one exam. So these are very good numbers. We want to see them increase. We do that by providing supports across the system, not just in our advanced placement courses. I've talked a little bit about that, how we're doing that. And so we really monitor these numbers closely. SAT participation rate, as well as SAT scores. Now, these numbers are very interesting. these numbers between 2015 and 2016, there was a change, and actually between 2014 and all the way through 2016, there was a change in the SAT. So for a while there, in 1 year, you could have actually taken the old SAT as well as the new SAT. The old SAT, if you recall, when I took it, was a 1600 was the top score. Then for a little while, it was 2400, and then now it's back down to 1600. But there's been kind of a constant along the way that the CDE, based on the 2400 score, that the CDE says if you score 1500 or higher, that you are college ready. So this right here is a representation of both of those. So 38.68 and 49.71 are the percentage of students who are considered college ready. Now I see a quiz, a look, that's out of the 2400, okay? That's out of that 2400 score. There were 3 sections on the test. Each section was worth 800 for a total of 2400. But we had to do some calculation here using the CDE tool to show us what that percentage was. So of the students who took the SAT, that took that particular test, those were the percentages. Again, increasing, and we'll continue to see that because obviously we offer the SAT participation, but not only do we offer SAT participation in the SAT School Day program, but we offer the supports that go along with it. CTE, Career Technical Education, a passion of mine, and so one of the measures that we've always been interested in is how many students are taking a career technical education course, a course that is preparing them not only for college, but also for life after high school, after they leave us. And so enrollment in CTE courses is very important. And again, if you look at those numbers, it's a third, that's 1 out of every 3 students that's walking across a high school campus is enrolled in a CTE course. Again, a very good number. We want to see that continue to increase. We will see that continue to increase because, again, every year we are offering more and more CTE courses. And as we emphasize that those CTE courses should also meet A through G requirements, then they become even more desirable. So that's an effort not only of ours for our district CTE courses, but the ones with, that we partner with Baldy View ROP. That's also an initiative there. And then a fairly new indicator that people are becoming a little bit more familiar with, and one that Dr. Park and Dr. Eckersall and myself, we make sure that we're traveling to campuses and talking to all invested stakeholders in, is something called concentrators and completers. So I just want to take about 30 seconds here to explain that. It's not enough that we offer a career-focused course, but what you want to do is you want to build on that. So you want to offer a subsequent course that increases the skill set that you're learning. In addition to that, you want to offer certifications such as a CPR card, first aid, safe food handling, things like that. And so we want to look at this number. 7.7% looks low, but it's not. That means that nearly 8% of all of those kids not only took one CTE course, but worked with a counselor, worked with a teacher, worked with an advisor to fit another one in the next year that builds on those skills. Therefore, they're completing they become what we call completers. And so that's an important number to watch and, again, to increase. And, again, we only have data for 2017 because it's still, even the state is in flux right now in how they're measuring that. There's a lot going on with course codes and CalPads, and so we're working very closely with ROP as well as the state to measure that. But that's going to be an important metric for us to watch. And again, our high schools do a tremendous job of not just offering one CTE course here, a CTE course there, but we work really diligently to create pathways. Okay, and so another new vocabulary word for us tonight: pathways. A pathway is a sequence of courses, CTE courses, that again continue to build on the skills that you learned in the previous course. Some pathways are made up of 2 courses. Other pathways include 3 courses. Almost all of them involve some type of certification. Okay? So as you can see here, we have 10 industry sectors of the 15 that are recognized by the state. Okay? And these aren't all the industry sectors, nor are these all of the courses. These are just our pathways, our complete pathways, that if a student's enrolled in this, they become a pathway completer. So we've worked with the sites, we've worked with counselors, we've worked with ROP, we've worked with our own CTE teachers that we offer through Chino Valley to continue to build these. And you can see that many of these have all of our high schools involved. And so Dr. Park mentioned dual enrollment. And I wanted to go a little bit more into this because dual enrollment, you're going to hear more about this, but there's 3 or 4 terms that are associated with dual enrollment that we have to become familiar with. So dual enrollment does exactly what it says, is I'm enrolled both in a high school course and I'm getting credit, I'm getting college, high school graduation credit, and I'm also at the same time concurrently enrolled in some type of post-secondary institution. It could be a trade school, it could be a community college, it could be a university. But either way, I have dual enrollment there. But there are a couple of other terms that we should be aware of. Early and middle college. Early college is an opportunity for students to enroll in college, but doesn't necessarily mean they're getting high school credit, but they have the opportunity to earn college credit. Just taking the class doesn't get you the credit. Just like every other college student, you have to pass. There's usually a qualifying exam. Those are taken with college professors, okay, or people employed by the university. So currently, and these numbers represent a few different semesters. I'm working with Dr. Carr, who really works on these agreements. And these are multiple semesters here, but I was just trying to get just give me one single number. Okay, 555, Julian. We have 555 that have gone through Chaffey College in terms of dual enrollment, okay? I'm sorry, early college, not dual enrollment, early college. And then 491 students through CSU San Bernardino. And those are through all semesters, fall, spring, summer, for various reasons, okay? So we're well on our way to making this part of our culture here, right? The early college courses, the most recent early college courses, these are the most recent ones. The ones that were actually, registration has just been happening over the last couple of days, actually, are pretty impressive, actually. We have a sociocultural anthropology course. We have a career exploration course. Over at Don Lugo, we have communications or effective speaking course, and then survey of American cinema. So very, very impressive opportunities for students. The other term I want to familiarize you with is articulation agreements. Now, this is a little bit different. This is actually, it's an agreement. It's more than just a handshake. There's a lot of paperwork involved, and that's why we're working on building some of these. But it's an agreement between a post-secondary institution and a class to say, hey, what you're teaching in your class is worthy of college credit in our college course. And so as you can imagine, that's a very tough agreement to come to. It takes a lot of effort, and we do have some agreements. We have some amazing teachers that are willing to meet with the college professors, and the college professors are willing to say, hey, let's work and let's create these agreements. So we do have articulation agreements with Chaffey College. We have some direct ones with CSU San Bernardino, and then we have a number of colleges through our ROP classes that are articulated with Mount Sac, Citrus, and then Valley College. So the importance of these is that students now have many more post-secondary options, not just that single one for that single community college district. And so those are another ones. That's another term that we want to be very aware with. So system-wide, how do we support that? We can dip our toes. Those numbers represent us kind of experimenting, piloting, kind of dipping our toes in the water here. But most recently, we were fortunate enough to apply for and were awarded a grant through the James Irvine Foundation that provided, there is an initiative called the California Coalition of Early and Middle Colleges. These are trained, most of them, if not all of them, are high school administrators, high school principals who have shown great success at implementing early and middle college. They've been trained by the universities as well as the coalition, and we've been awarded some coaching hours, which means they'll come to us and help us realize our vision. They're going to be meeting with our high school principals saying, hey, what does this look like on your campus? We know what, they'll be talking with district administrators, what's your vision for this? And then they'll help us implement as well as evaluate and even work with us on some of the agreements, some of the MOUs with the universities. So that's a really neat opportunity that we're going to be a part of. And then finally, I think this is a pretty nice succinct slide that shows all of the, not all of the, I'm sorry, some of the programs and the ways that we're making sure that what we're doing here in Chino Valley is aligned with the priorities that the state has set for every school district in California. And this is basically just an infographic, but let me point some of these out to you. We've obviously invested a number of resources in making sure that our students get on colleges' campuses early. That's as early as junior high school with field trips, making sure that colleges come visit our campuses and talk to students, making sure that we're setting up programs like AVID where the kids get out and actually walk on college campuses, talk to professors, talk to enrollment administration. Obviously, we have AVID that we have a lot of great metrics that are showing promise here. A couple of ones that I'm really proud to share that in 15-16 we had 127. These are 12th graders who left us as AVID students. And the following year, the next graduating class, there were 159 of them. Okay, so an increase in that number. But what's even more impressive is we did exactly as that program promised, in the sense that they didn't just leave with a CVUSD diploma, but they left with a CVUSD diploma, and 78% in 15-16 left with an acceptance to a four-year college. 78% of those kids. And then an increase in 16-17, but nearly 80%. And that's with the increase in the number of students in the program. Okay, so again, another number that we want to watch and resources that we want to invest in, and we are. And our advanced placement numbers, we shared a lot of advanced placement numbers with you, but the second bullet point that talks about the course offerings, there were only a limited number of advanced placement courses to offer, and the fact that we're still increasing and looking for opportunities to enrich that experience is very important, and we're working on that. Just varying the types of courses, working with the high schools to identify which courses are best suited, for the kids. And then obviously we talked about early college. Our intervention counselors, invaluable tool in helping us identify those kids that need the most help with core instruction, and then making sure that we're measuring progress for them. Again, the PSAT and the SAT are tremendous effort at lowering any barrier for any student that to college after high school. And then one of the ways, an investment in resources, one of the ways that we want to let kids know how they're doing along the way, starting as early as 7th and 8th grade, is through CCGI, or the California College Guidance Initiative. It's an online platform, and we're still in an implementation phase with this, but it's an online platform that our students log into and track their progress towards meeting what it means to be college ready. There's also a career exploration built into that. And then right now they can apply directly to California community colleges through that platform. Eventually, we're crossing our fingers that they'll tighten up the CSU apply, and we'll do that, but also FAFSA directly through that platform. So we're trying to create one stop for them, so that it's not 2 or 3 different places that they have to go just to get into college. Yeah, that was the last slide. Okay.
Any questions from the board members?
Well, yes, me, but it'll show as Mr. Knott.
That's all right.
Because I'll press mine soon.
Okay. I just have one. Do we know if the early college is going to be expanded to our other high schools? Or are we limiting it to just Don Lugo and Ayala?
Currently, it's only at Ayala and Don Lugo, and it's 2 of our 4 comprehensive high schools, and we want to do a great job with them before we expand to any of the other high schools.
Okay, sounds fair. Thank you.
Mr. Knott.
My question is regarding also the dual enrollment. In the future, I'd like to see exact presentation to be presented to the parents as well, because I believe many parents would be really interested in sending their children in a dual enrollment program, because the cost of universities nowadays such a great cost that we have to, as a parents, have to take burden. And if we have given the students at early age and an opportunity to take more credits, it's going to really benefit them and propel them to really be successful college students.
Thank you for sharing that sentiment. That is a vision of our superintendent and our deputy superintendent. And as a result, not only through their vision and hearing what our students said through our LCAP engagement sessions last year, we have built a college presentation, and that presentation will include those components that you are wanting and our kids are wanting, and it will be offered at every junior high school, and with the opportunity for our junior high school students, our junior high schools to customize that, but we do have a presentation prepared to offer all of those great things that we are offering in our school district.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cruz.
I remember we made a contract with Chaffey College, and so I suspect the dual enrollment's gonna happen in the following school year.
Yeah, we currently have memorandums of understanding or MOUs with Chaffey College, along with Cal State San Bernardino, for those programs. Correct.
I just also like to say, with like No Child Left Behind, there was one assessment, but you've noticed that this one here, you got 50%, you got 26%, and 23%, and you mentioned those options. And those options, they're talking about the whole child. Not only you're talking about the academic abilities, you're also talking about skill sets, and also the degree of being conscientious, being responsible and mature. So these assessments are very normal and natural assessments. So it's very well put together what the state has done, because some kids are going to be real good with their hands, some kids are going to be real good with academics. So I'm pretty happy that we have evolved at this level than what we had in the past, where we thought everybody was a cookie crumb. Is that what you call it? Cookie cutter. And so it's nice because we are very diverse, and I'm really happy that our numbers are great, 50, 26%, and we'll move forward. Thank you.
Mrs. Orozco.
I just have a question in regards to the early college courses. Those are relatively new, aren't they? Aren't they like in 1 or 2 years new? Yeah. Okay. So kind of piggyback off of Mr. Na, you mentioned presentation to the parents, or because my question is, how do we get the word out to parents? Because you might get the word out to the kids, but the kids aren't always going to get the word out to their parents.
So through our LCAP, we have allocated resources for every junior high school to have a college awareness night. And that's going to be an invitation not only to the students, but also through the parents, for the parents. And in this presentation, we will be highlighting not only A through G requirements, but all of the college metrics and the great services and programs that CVUSD offers for our students in junior high.
So the parents would have to attend the awareness forum.
Yes, they would have to attend. Last year, we had a pilot of that and had great success. We're bringing food in. We're bringing In-N-Out trucks in, Carl's Jr. in, pizza in to our junior high campuses.
Parents will come.
And we've had we had a tremendous amount of turnout at all of the schools. And with better planning this year, I know it's going to be even more successful.
Okay. I just want to make sure that the parents are aware, because there were things that I've learned this past year that I didn't even know. And I'm a board member, and I've got a child in high school. So I just want to make sure that it gets out to the parents. And the forums are great, but the word doesn't always get to the parent that this is what the forum is about. And somehow or another, we got to get that word out that this is what we offer. And there are a lot of parents who aren't aware of all the things that we offer. It's amazing.
So I have a few questions. Oh, Mr. Na, you, but then I'll finish after you.
Okay. I'd just like to commend your department, Julian and Dr. Park. I know you guys, even if I see you in the hallways, you guys will be walking really, really fast because you got so much work to do. So, but thank you for going through all the textbooks. I know what you guys do, and and having an open communication with our staffs in local sites, and that's really helpful. And I think we're making good achievements under your leadership. Thank you.
So a couple of my questions. On the third option, this was Dr. Park's presentation, where we had 0 on completion of 2 semesters dual enrollment. So the dual enrollment is 2 classes in the early college, and we don't count, even though our kids do get college credit for their AP classes, we don't count AP classes, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so of course we have 0 because we didn't have, we're just in the initial stages.
That's correct.
Okay. My next question is, on the, I guess it's page 6, the college and career metrics on the AP exam. You talked about 2016, we had 26.21%, and 2017, 27.50%. So this would have been Dr. Rodriguez's portion. There. So we're just looking at the kids who are, it says in your title, who are taking the exam. These are not kids in AP class, correct?
Correct. Yes, correct. And that's a very good distinction. These are just the students who are participating in the exam. Class participation is a different metric. The state of California is looking at this currently at this metric right now. Is those students who choose to take an exam.
So at this point, are you satisfied that most of the students are taking the exam, or is it a wide variation from school to school and from subject to subject?
It's a great question. I met with the department chairs just 2 days ago, and we were discussing this very essential question. Because really what you want to find out is all of the research shows that the most important measure is how prepared a student feels for it, and how well they know they feel they're going to do on the material, which may or may not have anything to do with how the year went. It's just how they feel for it. Those are challenging experiences for kids, especially that are taking 2 or 3 classes, AP classes, and then they choose to only take 1 test.
Right.
So we're doing our best to lower those barriers that would prevent that by offering, continuing to offer reduced fees for the AP exams, even though the state has stopped reimbursing us for those. So we want to remove those barriers. So it's not always a matter of just that self-efficacy or that feeling prepared. There's other barriers that are in place simply because of the nature of the exam. So you asked if I was satisfied. We're having those conversations, making sure that the students who take the class, feel prepared to take the test and are able to. Beyond,
I would like to see those numbers. I mean, the comparison of the kids who are enrolled versus the kids who take it. Now, I promise this is my last question.
Ms.
Did you have an
Fikes,
answer?
For the AP exam, I do have that data, and I can provide that.
Okay.
Provide that for you.
Thank you. My last question is on the second to the last slide, the dual enrollment slide, where you say 555 are at Chaffee and 491 are at San Bernardino. Are they actually at those schools? Those kids are getting their college credit through those schools within our classes?
correct. Dr. Carr's done a tremendous job of providing a number of ways. Some are done electronically with online courses. Others are done in seat. Some students do travel over to the courses, but yeah, Dr. Carr's provided a number of opportunities.
And so if they are certifying the credit for college, do our kids have to pay anything?
Yes. For a number of those, there are fees involved, but again, Dr. Carr has a number of opportunities set up for scholarships, also available, and other opportunities.
I'd be interested in the information about that. You know, what does it cost to get 3 units of credit in English or whatever, and what percentage of our kids are we able to cover that for, and what percentage of kids are paying that themselves. And I thank you for all your work on this. It's very comprehensive and a great beginning.
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, board members, it's interesting how things have changed over time as far as AP. exams are concerned. 12 or 13 years ago, when I was principal at Chino High and Chino Hills High, the emphasis was on passage rate. So the superintendent at the time said to us, we want to make sure we have a great number of kids passing. So we had some classes of only 12 kids in it. We had them take a test to get into the class. And so, sure, our rate was high of kids passing, but we didn't have these kind of numbers of kids actually taking AP exams. So I think that this is much more inclusive and speaks well of us.
Hearing no other comments, we are now at comments from our student representative. Jonah?
Good evening. On January 11th, the Student Advisory Council met, and there Dr. Park introduced LCAP to some of the students, and we were asked questions based on the 3 goals of LCAP. These questions include, what conditions of learning at our school affect your performance? What motivates students to be actively involved at school? And what do our students need to be better prepared for college and career? And while we were going through these questions, we discovered that many of the students don't realize the opportunities that LCAP provides. And some of these include the CTE courses and also Khan Academy and tutoring services being provided for free. So I plan on speaking with Ms. Siobhan Roberts on a way to publicize this, and I would like to get the Student Advisory Council to create a video, a fun video that we could present to both the parents as the board was speaking and the students as well, to make them more aware of all the wonderful opportunities that LCAP provides. And this concludes my comments.
Thank you. So comments from employee representatives, Mr. Steve Ball?
Good evening. I'm feeling a little puny, so I'm going to be brief. First, I want to welcome Danny Hernandez, my CSEA counterpart. We had our first meeting scheduled today, and I canceled on him. He said that's okay, he's too busy anyway. But welcome and congratulations and condolences. Just want to report that ACT ran the ratification vote for the tentative agreement from January 8th through January 16th. Members could vote online or in person. We had 672 members vote, and the agreement passed with an approval of 94.8%. So the tentative agreement is less tentative. Right? So, that's all I have.
Thank you. And welcome Danny Hernandez. His first presentation as CSEA President.
Good evening, President Fikes, Board, Superintendent Joseph, and Cabinet. I'd like to introduce myself if you don't know me. My name is Daniel Hernandez. Everybody calls me Danny. I'm the new CSEA President. I look forward, along with our CSEA Board, of working along with the district to come up with collaborative solutions to both of our issues. With that, I trust everyone had an enjoyable holiday season with family and friends and are ready for our second half of our year. And like Mr. Ball brought out, we actually ratified our contract also. Happy to announce that it was it unanimously passed, which nobody can remember in past history that anything passed unanimously. I'd also like to send out a very big thank you to Patty Newton and Denise Arroyo. This past week, or was it last week, an employee fell ill and needed to go to the hospital via an ambulance. Both of them were en route with her and stayed with her until her family members arrived. So I did want to give a very special thank you to both of them. And with that, that concludes my message. Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome.
I don't see Mrs. Farley in the audience. Did she send anybody to speak for Champ? All right, moving on then, community liaisons. I see Art Bennett in the audience.
Good evening and Happy New Year from Chino Hills. And congratulations, Madam President, on your appointment. That's great. We look forward to great things from you this year. I would be remiss if I didn't say, what about those Borba elementary kids, huh?
Yes.
That's, music is great, was a great influence in my life. I can remember at Miles Avenue Junior High, elementary in Huntington Park, 5th and 6th grade, doing the same thing, learning how to play trombone. And it kind of carried over, and of course I had two boys that graduated from Mayella High School, and so I was a band parent for many, many years, and the correlation between academics and music is a real important thing. So getting these kids started in 5th and 6th grade is wonderful, and we appreciate the fact that the school district supports that. That LCAP report, fantastic. It's actually starting to make sense. You know, I could never remember what LCAP meant, so I mean that's an achievement right there. But congratulations, hopefully, again, congratulations on all of the appointments to Mr. Naw and to Irene as well. I hope that this is a great second half of the year. I know it's getting short time for you, Wayne, so it's kind of bittersweet for you. But I know that the second half of this year will go good, and hopefully we'll continue to do well with these measures as far as the graduation rates and things like this. The school district's done a great job in the past, and I know that it will continue to do so. So again, Happy New Year, blessings, and hope you have a great rest of this year.
Is Paul Rodriguez in the audience? I don't see him. Mike Krieger from the Fire Board? Thank you. Melissa Campani from Supervisor Hagman's office?
Well, good evening, President Fikes and board members and Superintendent Joseph, cabinet members. Thank you very much. Supervisor Hagman asked me to come tonight and extend an invitation to you all and all residents of the 4th District of San Bernardino County. He's going to be having a coffee with Kurt. The next Coffee with Kurt will be taking place on February the 3rd at 8 a.m., 8 to 9:30, and that's going to be held in the beautiful Chino Hills Community Center in the Willow Room. His co-host will be Mayor Peter Rogers of Chino Hills. So we hope that you come out and have some coffee and a pastry. It's a good opportunity to find out about community information for the county. And also, Mr. Rogers, Mayor Rogers, will be commenting on Chino Hills. Thank you very much. I'll leave some flyers.
Thank you. And Kevin Cisneros from Chino Community Services.
Good evening, Madam President and board members. Just a quick update on what's happening in the City of Chino Community Services Department. For those who may not be familiar with what the Community Service Commission is, we are Parks and Recreation for the City of Chino, and we meet on the 4th Monday of every month at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers. Because we meet on the 4th Monday, that just happened to be the 25th of December, so we did not have a meeting in December. We were dark. But our next upcoming meeting is this Monday at City Council chambers, 7 p.m., and we're going to be discussing community development block grant funds, which are funds that are received from the state, of which a portion of are allocated for local nonprofit organizations and departments as well. So the period for applications has closed, and we will be conducting interviews with those nonprofit organizations and departments this Monday. So it is open to the public. If you'd like to join us at 7 p.m., we'd love to see you there, and that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are now at comments from the audience on items not on the agenda. Pat, are there any requests to speak on non-agenda items? Wow. We are now at changes and deletions. Pat, are there any changes or deletions?
The following change is on the agenda, Facilities, Planning and Operation, item 3D2, Agreement for Contractor Consultant Services, page 50 is yellow sheeted.
Tonight's first order of business are the information items. Since two of the items require the presentation of reports given by outside auditors, we will hear from them first and then move on to the consent calendar. With that, the first report is item 2A1 and then 2C1. Shiloh Grosby, partner at Vivrenek, Trine, Day and Company, will be presenting the reports. Thereafter, if board members have any questions on the remaining information items, we will hear those. Mrs., would you pronounce your name for me, please?
You did pretty good, Mrs. Grosbe.
Mrs. Grosby.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. So my goal tonight will be to go over the results of the audits for June 30, 2017. Hopefully you've received those reports and had an opportunity to go through them. And of course, as always, when I'm through going through those results, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those for you. I'll start with the district's report. That is the larger of the two reports, so if you have them both in front of you, it would be for the school district as a whole. And our audit really starts on page 2. That's our independent auditor's report. That is why we're here, to provide you an opinion about whether the financial statements as presented are materially stated based on our audit procedures. And our goal is to provide you with what we refer to as reasonable assurance. We can't provide you total assurance. We don't look at everything, but we do have standards that require us to conduct our audit to provide you with reasonable assurance. That's the language we use. And the report tonight is an unmodified opinion. That means, as presented, the financial statements are materially stated. It's a clean opinion and the highest level of assurance that we can provide you in audit. So a good report on the financial statements tonight. But in addition to the opinion on the financial statements, there are 3 other reports that are included in this packet. And if you turn to page 104, this is the summary of the results of all of the reports provided. So this is a good place to just see everything in one snapshot. The next report that we provide is the internal control report over the financial reporting. This is where, as part of the audit, while we don't provide you an opinion on internal controls, we do look at the internal controls to ensure that there are no, what we would refer to as a significant deficiency or a material weakness in the internal controls. And so we're happy to report neither existed during the course of our audit. So that is a clean internal control report. We also provide you a report on federal programs. We are mandated to conduct an audit on federal programs based on the expenditures over federal grants that the district receives. And that is a compliance and internal control report. So we look at both elements of the federal expenditures. The programs that were audited for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2017 are listed. So you can see that we looked at your Title I as well as special education programs this past year. We don't look at the same programs every year. There is a system designed for how programs are selected for testing. And we're happy to report that neither of those programs had any compliance issues, and we didn't have any internal control issues as well. So that's a clean report, an unmodified opinion on the federal programs. And last but not least, your state programs. There are obviously a lot of ed codes that could be audited, but the state tells us which ones we have to audit, so we go by their requirements. And it is unmodified for all programs with the exception of the unduplicated local control funding formula, the pupil counts. That's the where you have to do the CalPADS reporting. So we have a finding with respect to that program and the data collection, and that finding is actually summarized in detail beginning on page 107. I won't go through the details, but if there are specific questions on that, I'm happy to go over that with you. And then, of course, starting on page 110, these are just other things that come to our attention during the audit. We go look at ASBs, so sometimes things come up during the audit of smaller departments operations that we want to bring to management's attention. We don't consider these things to be significant or material, however, important enough to at least bring to your attention. And those types of issues begin on page 110. So that is the detail of the audit results. You also have a separate letter addressed to you as the governing board. It's our communication letter that we provide you. It's designed to, do you have it? Okay, good. It is designed to communicate specific things that you wouldn't see in the bound report. The two I'd like to point out would be, were there any disagreements with management, or did we have any difficulties in completing the audit? Something we would want to bring to your attention if it did occur, so we're happy to report that no such issues existed. So other than that, that's the district's audit. I can hold for questions now and then go on to the next one, or your choice.
Are there any questions?
No.
Okay, you can go on to the next one.
All right. So as you are aware, this year was the first year the district began to spend money with respect to Measure G. So we did complete a first-year audit for Measure G. This is a financial and compliance audit. We refer to it as a performance audit. It is compliance with the expenditures so that we ensure that the monies are being spent in accordance with the ballot language that was approved by the voters. So the first component to the report is the financial audit. And I'll just briefly go over page 2 because it really is very similar to the district audit. Our independent auditor's report on the financial statements. This is also an unmodified opinion. So as presented, the financial statements specific to Measure G were materially stated. And because we're talking about a specific purpose audit, I'll just briefly go over page 5, which really summarizes for your first year what happened with Measure G. You issued some bonds in the amount of $208 million. You can see that towards the bottom of that page. And you've spent just a little over $3 million in the first year. So you're ending with about just under $205 million. So that's just information for you to kind of see where you were at June 30, 2017 with the issuance of Measure G. Obviously, you're far beyond that now. I'm sure many additional expenditures have already been incurred. And then we also have an internal control report with respect to Measure G. That's on page 12. So once again, if there were any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we would report those to you. We're happy to report that's a clean report as well. And of course, as I mentioned, the second component to this is a performance audit. So that's the second half of this report. This report begins on page 1 of the second part of the report. They're bound together, but really they're two separate reports. This report is a clean report, so we're happy to report that there was no non-compliance with the expenditures that were tested. And if you were to read in a little more detail, page 3 of that kind of lays out for you exactly what we do in this type of engagement. Towards the bottom of the page, you'll see procedures performed. I like to point out number 2 because I think this really shows exactly what we looked at. You can see that of the $3 million I mentioned in expenditures, our audit included testing of about $1.8 million, so about 55% of the expenditures incurred were subject to audit. So that's a high percentage of coverage for audit purposes. So I just wanted to point that out. And that concludes that report. You also have a communication letter on this audit, and that one, once again, there's nothing to report that should alarm you on that. So.
And we have no buttons. Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Mr. Joseph, is this also a time to say thank you, Mrs. Chen?
Thank you, Mrs. Chen.
I was saying it. I wasn't you. Say it for me. Oh, it's me. You're waiting for me. We are now at consent. Pat, are there any speakers on consent items? Board members, do you have any polls? Mrs. Orozco?
None.
Mr. Cruz?
None.
Mrs. Blair?
One.
What
Pa-
is it?
Page 43, 3C2.
And Mr. Na?
I have none.
And I have none. For the remainder of the consent items, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Na, a second?
Second?
Ms. Orozco? All in favor?
Aye.
Preferential? Aye. Oh, I should have asked for opposed. Opposed? Thank you. So now we will move to Mrs. Blair's item, page 43,
So
number
moved.
3.
Second.
Thank you.
I didn't want to speak over you, but
I appreciate it because I don't have any blue instructions here for this portion.
That one you have to wing on your
Miss,
own.
okay, I'll wing it. Mrs. Blair.
this is a resolution to recognize February as Career and Technical Education Month. So it was
How appropriate.
fitting today since we received Dr. Julian's and Dr. Park's report. Career Technical Education is a program of study that involves a multi-year sequence of courses that integrates core academic with technical and occupational knowledge. Skills attained from this program will empower students to choose a meaningful and sustainable career by providing a pathway to post-secondary education and careers. The month of February has been designated Career and Technical Education Month by the Association for Career and Technical Education. And whereas Career and Technical Education helps students form career goals and provides them with pathways and opportunities to gain the academic, technical, and employability skills necessary for true career readiness. And whereas leaders from business and industries nationwide report increasing challenges related to addressing the skills gap and connecting qualified professionals with available careers in critical and growing CTE-related fields, including healthcare, energy, advanced manufacturing, and information technology. And whereas career and technical education students experience meaningful real-world problem-solving and applications, emerging technologies and opportunities to interface with experts through business and industry partnerships. And whereas career and technical education is part of the backbone of workforce and economic development, fostering productivity in business and industry, and contributes to America's leadership in the globally competitive marketplace. And whereas career and technical education prepares students for fulfilling careers by offering integrated programs of study that link secondary and post-secondary education and lead to the attainment of industry-recognized credentials. And whereas career and technical education offers individuals lifelong opportunities to learn new skills, which provide them with career choices and advancement opportunities. And whereas cooperative efforts between career and technical educators, business, and industry stimulate growth and vitality in the local economy. And whereas CTE programs of Chino Valley Unified School District offer rigor, relevance, and relationships that engage students in career path preparation and options for employment, industry-recognized credentials, and post-secondary education. Now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby finds, determines, and declares February 2018 as Career and Technical Education Month and urges residents to become familiar with the services and benefits offered by career and technical education programs.
Thank you. For the remainder of the, for
her item.
for this item, may I have, we already have the motion.
We just vote.
Okay, so
All
can
those
we
in
vote all in favor of this item?
Aye.
Opposed? Preferential? Aye. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Okay. I don't know what I would do without all my helpers.
You had it, I think you listed as roll call. Is what we did just okay?
Roll call? No.
Yeah, she has our name.
That's
On the
just-
resolution itself.
Right. Okay. Got it. Okay.
We are now at communications. Mrs. Orozco.
I will keep it brief. Let me begin with announcing the retirements for this board meeting that are on the agenda. First one is Randy Lentz, 37 years of service. That is, yes, it does deserve. And he is a wood and welding teacher at Boys Republic. Thank you, Boys Republic, yay. We also have Bridget Burns, who is in special ed at Newman for 13 years of service. Michelle Prenovost, and I apologize if I mispronounced, 16 years of service. She's a type clerk at Boys Republic. Joyce Seltz, 32 years of service, library medias at Chino Hills High School. Rosemary Monaghan is 19 years of service, special ed at Don Lugo. Stephen Banchik, 17 years of service, and technology. And so to all of you, thank you for your service. We appreciate all that you've done for our district, and we wish you well. And you can come back and help still, so. So, Mr. Joseph, this evening we had the audit for Measure G, but we haven't had a presentation in some time. And I know Mrs. Fikes quickly announced, because I kind of sent her a message at our last board meeting, but we haven't had a presentation. I'd like to see a presentation letting us know where money is going, what's on the horizon as far as what is to be spent, just kind of keeping us all informed, us and the public.
So within the next month or two, you'd like a special?
That would, doesn't have to be a special meeting. If it's long enough that it entails a special meeting, then yes, but. if
Or
it's-
maybe a presentation at a board
Yes.
regular board meeting? Okay, we can do that.
Okay, perfect. And that will conclude my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz.
Okay, thank you. The Williams Settlement Legislation for October 2017 through December 2017, we had no complaints when it came to instructional materials. The facilities were safe, and teacher vacancies and misassignments were 0. So thank you, Dr. Park. I just want to say that during the vacation time, I went to In-N-Out, and I saw cans of photos, of pictures. And so what I did is I called up corporate In-N-Out to do some research and ask why I didn't see these in other places. So let me just go ahead and read about those cans that I saw. I learned that President Donald Trump has proclaimed January 2018 as National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month, culminating in the annual celebration of National Freedom Day on January 1st, 2018. As many of you may know, victims of human trafficking not only includes adult men and women, but oftentimes include children. Why do I bring up this topic? Well, I believe that we as educators and advocates for children hold dear to our role in protecting the interests of children. Teachers, administrators, and staff are often the eyes and ears of innocent children. We are often their voices. We're the ones who notice the children that are malnourished, falling asleep in class, or detached from life. Sadly, there are no quick fixes, but we need to start addressing this horrific reality that happens to many of our students. So bringing it to the forefront, I applaud President Trump. I encourage you all to become informed and act to protect our beautiful children who are our future. And one last thing is, today is Mr. John Mello's birthday. So happy birthday, big boy. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Blair.
Mr. Joseph, in the audit, there were ASB-related findings for all of our 4 high schools. Will someone be following up to make sure that they tighten up the controls that were brought up in the audit?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Recently, there was some inactivation of apps used by our students and teachers. Dr. Enfield, you responded to my inquiry rather quickly, and I know that the application that the teachers use was restored. But what I'm hoping is that in the future, when we plan to inactivate apps, that perhaps we provide a heads up to staff to students who also have lost a grades app recently that came in kind of handy. I just think it would be nice if we shared why we are inactivating it and maybe garner some insight as to why they use it. But I know one of them, the one for the teachers, was restored, and you shared that the application that the students were using for their grades was a third-party app, and it was disabled for that reason. But just if we could give a heads up in the future about what we plan to do, if that's feasible.
When we can, I will, but we don't control a third-party app. That would be the only difficulty, because we may not know that there's a third-party app being used. And when we discovered it, our counselors reported that they were having issues because that app was incorrectly giving grades. So the app was making its own adjustments, saying, hey, student, if you get a...
Well, I think that's why they loved it.
Well, yeah, but the counselors weren't.
Right, I get it.
Because parents were complaining along with students of, hold it, I got this...
The report card?
I got this grade on my final, and the app was saying, if you get this percentage on your final, you'll get an A. And the students were like, but I got that, and that was one of the issues with the app. But it was also the privacy issue with that, and we can't control who puts out a third-party app. So, but when we can, we'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then especially for teachers or staff, when you disable the apps, you can send an email, right, that it's...
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and you'll see a contract that's also coming up with some of the filters that we're changing, a provider on that will give us, that will allow staff to have more access to a number of different websites that currently they're being blocked on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not sure who can follow up on this, but there have been concerns that we aren't properly funding our STEAM programs at our school sites. And so I don't know what the protocol is when our educators at the school sites have concerns about programs, curriculum, and things like that. But if we could, at an upcoming meeting with school site administrators, if we can begin to have a discussion about our STEAM programs.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We can address that at the principals meeting on Monday.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, I want to thank Mr. Joseph and risk management team. I asked, due to recent situations involving safety within our school district, I asked that the WeTip hotline link be placed on our school district website, because I've been conducting a lot of research lately, and WeTip has a school tip line specifically to report school site concerns. The special line continues to be anonymous. Calls can be made for anything relating to school site safety, drug sales, threats, dangerous situations, unsafe, risky, and inappropriate behaviors. The crime, telephone, and internet lines of communication are staffed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And so I want to thank you for adding that. I just don't think it's easily visible, because even when I went on there, I had to figure out where it was. I thought it would be in the parents tab, but it wasn't there. So then I had to go to departments, then into risk management, and there it is on the bottom. But I just think it needs to be a little bit more visible. And then if we can roll it out to the school sites, I just think it's an additional tool that can help students and parents report concerns that otherwise they may not be comfortable bringing to the attention of school site administrators. But thank you for that. And that's it.
Mr. Na.
Yes, I had an amazing week visiting schools. It was first Chino Hills High School. And when I see kids, I would ask them, what do you do for a living? And they would pause, but I would tell them they're the students. And there are certain expectations for our students and their priorities. But again, it was an amazing week, because when I was at Chino Hills High School, it was at lunchtime. This classroom had doors open, and it was still full of students. And I would see a young math teacher teaching. It's like extra tutoring for students while eating salad in a small container. And I said, wow, what's going on? And the students were so happy that they're getting an extra help because of this young math teacher's sacrifice of his lunchtime. So when we ask ourselves, what do we do for a living? We should have all this pride. And same thing had happened when I walked into a Wickman elementary school. It was a big assembly. It was a cold morning, but all these teachers would say, Mr. Na, would you like to come into my classroom? And I said, okay. Then soon there was like 20 teachers. And they had something to show. And guess what? All for the students. They had these new ideas of teaching, new ways of conducting communication skills with small little ones. And it all worked. And you could tell they had this strong pride of what they're doing, teaching. So I said, whatever the TV station says about our public education, good things are happening in our school district because of our staffs. So I'd like to thank every one of you guys, especially teachers that are sitting here. I know you guys put lots of work, daytime, and still come to our meetings. Thank you for that. And I'd like to also thank this time Mr. Art Bennett. Yes, I love all council members at Chino Hills, and that's where I live in Chino Hills, but you're the favorite one. And the reason is because you love kids. And that's why we're here for. And I also like to thank Mr. Kevin Cisneros. I always see you at Christmas parade breakfast time, and you always talk about kids. So when we care, kids will be successful. Now, on a sad note, I had to attend funeral service for Saul Perez Martinez with Mr. Cruz. He was only 17 years old, and he was attending Chino High School, and he left a note, and I just read our audience a couple sentences of what he wrote. He said, "Thank you for giving me the family I have. I love my family. Thank you for giving me my true friend. I found happiness, confidence, faith, and strength." I think this sums it up. This 17-year-old kid had all these three components in his life. And us, we need to thank every day that we wake up and see what we can do for others, especially our young ones. Because sometimes our young ones are very wise, like young man Saul Perez Martinez. The father was in a drought, and so was the mother. It was hard to be with them, but I give them big hugs because we're all together in this business, loving and supporting our kids. Thank you.
Superintendent Joseph.
Kindergarten registration for 2018-19 school year is beginning this month and will continue throughout the spring. Check out the district's website for the kindergarten registration start date at your child's school. And speaking to a concern Mrs. Blair talked about a couple of minutes ago about our website not being as user-friendly as it could be, just want people to know that Dr. Enfield has been working diligently on this issue and hopes to have a new website ready to go for the next school year, assuming there are no unforeseen circumstances. So we have not forgotten the fact that the board has a concern about the user-friendliness of the current website. But I'm sure Dr. Enfield will be successful because he's been working very hard on that issue. That will conclude my comments.
Thank you. On Saturday, I attended the robotics competition at Canyon Hills Junior High School for a couple of hours. It was close quarters. They had lots of schools participating, and we had from our district, Canyon Hills, Don Lugo High School, and Ayala High School students. All of them were doing a fabulous job, and I know it's unusual for junior high programs to host that. It was certainly, and do I see someone out there who was there Saturday? Was it you? No, I thought maybe you were. Oh, okay. Anyway, it's amazing to see the efforts of the parents as well as the staff at Canyon Hills pull together and host this event. It reflects well on our district and well on the teacher and on the program that he's created. Lastly, Donald D. Bremer passed away on Sunday, January 14th, 2018. Mr. Bremer worked for the Chino Unified School District for 35 years. He began his teaching career as a math and drafting teacher at the junior high. He became a vice principal and counselor at Ramona Junior High and served in that position for about 10 years. He later became the principal at Boys Republic High School and stayed in that position for 15 years until he retired. Currently, his son Robert is our PE coach at Buena Vista High School. Services for Mr. Bremer will be held on January 29th at 4 o'clock at First Christian Church of Pomona. And with that, I adjourn the meeting at 8:40.